Once upon a time, in a village called Ifite, lived a very old man called De Obiozo. He was very old and frail and could barely do anything without assistance. He was a very powerful man with great powers, the powers he inherited from his father many years ago. De Obiozo lived with his grandson Ikenna, who was dumb as he could not speak. Ikenna helped his grandfather do everything, and this gave him so much joy. De Obiozo made it a duty to always bless Ikenna every morning whenever they woke up. Ikenna had been a blessing to him, and De Obiozo loved him so much. He was so grateful to his grandson and never failed to show his gratitude by always blessing him. One day, De Obiozo told Ikenna to take some yams from his barn to De Osadebe's house. So Ikenna obeyed and did as his grandfather had instructed him to. On his way, two boys named Chu and Nwafo bullied him and took the yams. He tried to secure the yams, but the boys overpowered him and pushed him to the ground. This is not the first time Chu and Nwafo are taking things from Ikenna. They bully him at every given opportunity, but he has never said a word about this to his grandfather. So when Ikenna got home, he could not explain to his grandfather what had actually happened. All he could tell his grandfather was that he lost the yams. His grandfather knew that Ikenna was not a careless boy and wondered what could have happened. His grandfather forgave him and replaced the yams, and Ikenna delivered the yams successfully to De Osadebe's house. Many days passed, and Ikenna was on his way back from the farm when suddenly Chu and Nwafo pushed him and threw his basket of food items to the floor. Chu and Nwafo liked to bully Ikenna because of his disability. They would imitate his mumbling sounds whenever he tried so hard to speak and would laugh so hard at him anytime Ikenna was leaving the house to run errands for his grandfather. He was always scared as he dreaded the possible encounter with Chu and Nwafo, and this went on for a very long time till one fateful day. De Obiozo sent Ikenna to give some money to his friend Mazi Matthias when suddenly he heard whistling behind him. He tried to hasten his steps as he knew it was Chu and Nwafo approaching, but they ran to catch up with him. "Are you trying to avoid us, you dumb fool?" they said. But Ikenna began to beg that he was only rushing to meet up an urgent errand. They kicked him and began to search his bag and saw the money his grandfather gave him to give Mazi Matthias. They took the money and Ikenna begged and begged, but they beat him to stupor and left with the money. Ikenna returned home, but this time with bruises all over his body, and his grandfather immediately knew that something bad had happened. His grandfather asked him what happened, but Ikenna tried to cover it up. So his grandfather decided that he would get to the roots of the matter himself. The next morning, after his grandfather had finished blessing him, Ikenna left the house scared of bumping into Chu and Nwafo. He was so scared because the bruises from the previous day were still hurting. So he prayed not to bump into them, but not long he saw them in the distance. "Oh my God," he exclaimed. Chu and Nwafo were standing at their usual spot where they always waited for Ikenna when they suddenly saw him walking in the distance. They immediately ran towards him and began to laugh. "You think you can run away from us?" they said as they pushed him to the ground. "What do you have for us today? Bring your bag." They searched the bag but saw nothing inside. This infuriated them, and Chu stretched out his hand to slap Ikenna when suddenly he was turned into a tree. Nwafo, on seeing this, screamed and tried to run away when he also turned into a tree. The two bullies were now trees with eyes, and Ikenna, on seeing this, ran quickly to inform his grandfather of what had happened. When his grandfather heard this, he began to laugh as he knew what exactly had happened. Whilst blessing Ikenna that morning, his grandfather used his powers to put a curse on anyone who would attempt to harm Ikenna. This curse was to turn them into a tree till they were repentant. The villagers, along with the parents of Chu and Nwafo, came to plead with Ikenna's grandfather, and he agreed to turn them back on one condition. The condition was that Chu and Nwafo would work for him by running all his errands. Everybody agreed, and that was how Chu and Nwafo became the errand boys of De Obiozo, and he used the opportunity to train them up as responsible and well-behaved boys who never bullied people again, especially Ikenna. The lesson to be learned from this story is that we should never bully others, never make fun of people's disability or predicaments, and also never take what does not belong to you. Treat others with respect, and also try to stand up for people who are being oppressed. Let's all live in peace. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.